you sick to watch them hands get throwed up. One for the money, two for the show. Keep it on the low, homie, you would never know. One for the money, two for the show. Keep it on the low, homie, you would never. Go to where I went, see the boy I was, be the man I am. You been out of touch, I'm the one that make the needle move. Stripes on me like Adidas shoes, stripes on me like I'm Beetlejuice. Say my name again, I'll see you soon. Looking at me, you gon' need to zoom. Y'all better focus under your nose, you never know.
Yo, podcast number 2.
Y'all dumber than I thought. Y'all parked in one spot. I've been through a
think
whole
so.
lot.
If my mic's not too loose.
Really messed up.
Well, I tried to tell you this wasn't the way to do it, but we gotta get better equipment.
Doubt it.
See how that just be falling like that? We'll see.
I don't know why.
We'll see.
What's good, everybody? Podcast, the Specktators podcast number 2. I am here with Packy.
Yo.
I am Moe-T. How was your weekend?
It was fun. Last I saw you was Friday, celebrating your birthday, which is tomorrow.
All right.
And your wife's birthday, which was last week. That's right. Big up to you. Last day of your 20s today.
Yep, feeling old.
You doing anything to celebrate tomorrow, or was Friday the celebration?
Friday was a celebration. We might just go out to dinner or something, but
Matt and Aaron had a few people over here at the office, rang it in a little bit, did some drinking.
showed them the old studio.
Yep.
Yeah, it was fun. It was a good time.
It was a good time. I got a little faded.
Yeah, you were pretty drunk.
I was talking to Q the next day. He said he got on his level and he was here till like 5:30 in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
I thought I was here late. I left at like 2:30.
Yeah.
Apparently he was here for 3 more hours.
Yeah, everyone stayed pretty late, though.
What were you doing?
Playing Flip Cup.
Jeez.
Getting more faded.
I like barely ate anything that day. It was a problem.
Acting like we're still in college.
Yeah, I was talking to Danny the next day too. He was out because I was in Grand Rapids the next day, and I had talked to him and his girl the previous night about going to a Griffins game in Grand Rapids with him, and he totally didn't even remember. He hit me up the next day like, "Yo, are you in town?" It's like, "Yeah, we talked about this yesterday." But
yeah, it was a good time. So, did you watch the Grammys last night?
no,
No.
I had a hoop game, so I missed most of it. But I caught up on it this morning. I woke up early and caught up on most of the things that happened. You watch it?
I watched it all live.
What'd you think?
Kendrick's performance was super dope, but I don't know. I have a hard time getting excited about the Grammys anymore.
Yeah, ditto. Normally I'm like, oh, Grammys are tonight. I gotta sit down and watch it. But this year I was just kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Because I think I skipped it last year. I didn't even watch it at all. But this year I kind of just figured, what the heck? And I did watch the whole thing all the way through, and I was just kind of like,
Anything stand out to you?
I just don't really. Well, like I said, did you watch Kendrick? Did you see?
Yeah, so I think I caught up on most of the important stuff, and to me the main standout was Kendrick's performance.
Yeah.
I thought that was sick.
And
Did
it
he
was.
open the show?
Yeah.
That was awesome.
It was sweet. Like that was pretty much the literal only stand. The only thing that I will say though, I was kind of blown away. It was kind of weird seeing Logic perform at the Grammys.
I didn't see his performance, honestly. I saw his little speech at the
Not
end
that
of
his
it.
performance was weird. It's that it was weird seeing somebody like Logic at the Grammys.
Just that you were listening to in the mixtape days.
Yeah,
and-
like when we started making music, he was starting to make music,
Yeah.
and he's at the Grammy. Like
damn.
that's
So we're not shit, huh?
no, we're not. But
we'll touch on that later in this
or
podcast.
Logic's just completely just found his niche and is now finally doing stuff. But
See, I didn't even watch his performance because didn't he do that? I don't even know the name of the song. 1-800.
Yeah, the Suicide
Yeah,
one, yeah.
didn't he do that at like the BET Awards or some? Maybe not the BET. Something Billboard maybe. Billboard Awards maybe it was. But he did
I
some
can't
big
remember.
performance with that at one of the award shows recently, and it was like this big deal. And I was kind of surprised they did it again now at the Grammys. So I didn't even bother watching, but I heard his like speech at the.
I don't know. I mean, it was a big song, but
Yeah.
I don't know. Whatever. It's not.
That was up for Song of the Year, wasn't it? I think it was because I was
Yes,
looking
I
at
believe
who
it
won.
was.
Bruno won Song of the Year.
Yeah. Yeah, it
And
was. It was up for
the
Song of the Year.
nominees for that I wasn't really very impressed with.
Dude, now that you mention that, I wasn't very impressed with a lot of nominees for a lot of songs. Even like, well, I guess I don't know. Why was Jay-Z nominated for so much? Like, did his album really do that great?
Well,
that it was like,
I think a lot of it is.
I'm not saying that his album was bad. I'm just saying
Yeah, it was
that,
a good album.
Yeah.
To me, it was.
Yeah,
it was,
no,
but
I-
it was
I
just.
liked
It was. It was like just solid.
Yeah. It wasn't
Um,
crazy though. Like
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think they got the hip hop album right though, because Damn got it. So I think that
Yeah.
was right. Bruno won Album of the Year, which it's like I would have liked to see Damn win Album of the Year personally, but I can't argue with Bruno's album was dope, and like I'm a hip hop fan, so I'm a little bit biased toward
Yeah.
Kendrick, but I'm not mad at Bruno winning that.
No, I'm not either. I think that was probably the best choice for
Bruno
that.
always kills his performances at these award shows. He's like one of he might be my favorite performer. Like if I had to choose who do you want to see perform at any of these things or like a Super Bowl or something like that, Bruno Mars.
He's a super talented dude though too. Like that's why even watching him win all those awards last night, I was just like, you can't even hate on it because he just makes fucking good songs.
Yeah,
like
no.
that's
His album was only like 9 records, I think, but they were all dope.
no, yeah, they were all dope.
So my one beef when I was looking at the winners this morning, did you have any beef? I had one pretty big beef.
What's up? I probably agree with whatever it was.
Well, what was yours?
I had a lot of like, I don't know, I can't because if you
all right,
watch
my big beef was best new artist.
Who won that?
What's her name? Alessia Cara. I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't really know much about her. I just know I feel like Khalid should have won it. His
Yeah.
album was dope. Like he's like 19 years old.
Yeah,
I don't know. I thought he
I
was
don't
going to
know
win.
anything
And
about her.
SZA was up for that award, and so I hate saying I have major beef with it because I really don't know much about the chick that won it. But
Right.
I think SZA's dope. I know Khalid's dope. I would have liked to see one of them win it.
but I think that's why I have such a hard time watching the Grammys though, is because I mean, I'm a musician, so I appreciate music in general, but my world is hip hop.
Right.
So when I am watching these like pop, like straight up pop stars and country stars, genres of music that I don't really listen to on a regular basis, it's tough for me to like when they have categories like that.
Yeah.
For me to be like, I have beef with this.
Yeah,
because I don't know.
Yeah, and
I have
everyone
no
probably
idea.
feels that way. Like if you're a certain genre, a fan of a certain genre, and someone dope is up for an award against like say you're not a fan of hip hop,
Right.
and all of a sudden like Kendrick wins an award when you think your
Right.
favorite country artist should have won it. Like I get
Mhm.
that, because if the country artist won it, I would have been pissed. You know.
Right.
So
No, I mean, and I guess it's funny when she won that award. I turned to my wife and I was like, "Do you know who this chick is?" And because she is like the ultra like pop, like that's all she listens to, all the white girl boochie 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 songs, and she didn't know who she was. So that's kind of when I start questioning stuff because yes, she is very like she'll play whatever Spotify recommends to her to play, and she'll turn
Yeah.
on her radio and be happy with all of that stuff. But if she doesn't know who she is, isn't that like an issue? Because
yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
I think Khalid's really dope, and the fact that he had a dope album on his own. He's only 19 years old. He was featured on some sweet records. I think I just found out the other day he did background vocals on The Heart Part 4 by Kendrick. That
Yeah,
he
I
wasn't
heard
like
that.
credited for or
Yeah, I
anything.
heard that.
He was also on like a big
He
part
wasn't
of,
credited for that.
he was a big part of Logic's Suicide record.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I don't
he
know.
performed with Logic.
For a new artist that's 19 years old, that's pretty damn good, and I feel like he should have got.
And what
Best
was
New
that
Artist.
chick on that Logic song too?
I forget.
But they were
It's
all
probably Alessia Cara.
probably.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought for the most part, Bruno Mars and Kendrick kind of cleaned up for the stuff I cared about, and I'm not mad at either one of them. So
No, I mean, I think Kendrick definitely should have gotten all the accolades that he got.
So before we get
Did
too
Jay-Z
far,
win anything? Do you know?
No, he didn't.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he didn't.
I was gonna say I didn't think.
Which
he
is
did,
surprising because when Jay-Z and Beyonce decide to attend award shows, you think they're gonna
but
win
something. Yeah.
Like it's already
He
worked out
probably
ahead of time.
expected to, but
Performances, I think Kendrick shit on everything that I really cared about. Bruno always kills it, so it's almost unfortunate that you just get used to it these days.
right.
He brought Cardi out. She was dope. I didn't watch Logic's. I watched the Rihanna and Bryson Tiller Wild Thoughts with DJ Khaled. he was hitting the dance moves and stuff and just screaming over it. That was all right, but as far as a live performance goes, I didn't think it was like very good. With the combination of DJ Khaled, I didn't think Rihanna like killed the vocals.
No, I thought it was kind of a weird performance overall. But also, does anyone that isn't a hip hop head know what DJ Khaled does?
That's the thing.
Because
Yeah,
I
like we
feel
were
like-
just talking about. If you're a fan of a different genre of music, you're a country fan watching the Grammys, and you're like, okay, this is a hit record, Wild Thoughts by DJ Khaled.
Right. What is this dude doing on stage?
Yeah.
Like, he's not doing anything.
Yeah.
He's yelling.
I know, that's funny.
That's what my wife was saying, and she was like, "What does he do? Like, what is his purpose on stage? Did he need to be on stage for that?" And I go, "It's his song," and she goes, "What?"
Yeah, that shit's funny. But yeah, that's about all I had for the Grammys. I mean, no
Yeah.
major issues except for the one, but whatever.
No, I mean,
Before we get too far into this, I wanna, because we did say last week was our first podcast. Hope you guys enjoyed that. We got a lot of feedback. A lot of positive feedback. Was actually, since this is such a new thing for us to do, I didn't really know how many people would be interested in it or whatever, but I think we got a lot of good feedback. I think a lot of people liked it. I want to just go through a few things that you guys gave us feedback on. Bryce the Beast on YouTube, the Beast, said, I like the podcast and love you and your brand, but here's a few suggestions, tips from someone who's experienced many. Seemed unorganized. Maybe have some more set topics beforehand. We do have set topics beforehand, but we don't go crazy with it. We're not trying to be PTI or a newscast or whatever out here. We want to be more of like a barbershop living room. You're just a fly on the wall in a conversation type
natural
thing.
conversation.
Yeah, so we have topics, of course. We don't just come in here and freewheel it, but we do want to be able to freewheel it a little bit as we go.
Right.
And that's the kind of podcasts we like, where you're getting a little bit more of a raw, uncut version of the conversation rather than, okay, I'm going to go plan out everything I'm going to say and here's the topics. So,
Right.
Yeah, we will try to be as organized as we want to be. We don't want to be overly organized, but I know there's some things we can clean up, so appreciate that.
We will be getting better as we do this more,
Right.
as far as flowing into topics and certain things
Right.
like that. It's just it's gonna be better as we go on. For
You
sure.
also said doing a live podcast brings good content and interaction. You're right. For our purposes, that's not something we want to do. But here and there, maybe we'll try something like that just for special. But just so you guys know, so these podcasts come out on Monday. We get up bright and early Monday morning and record these podcasts. We don't like record them ahead of time, whatever. Right now we're getting started a little late. We had a little pre-production meeting, but it's just about 11 a.m. right now. So, but we'll probably be getting up early every Monday and coming in doing this, and then we put it out same day.
Right.
But
I do think as we start getting more comfortable with this, introducing certain things like your guys' questions, maybe a call-in number that you guys can leave voicemails, and we can go over what the best ones that we want to answer are. It won't necessarily be live, but it'll give a live aspect to the show.
That's true.
Live shows are just another beast to do.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're ready to tackle that yet.
Let's see. We had Shadow said, loved it. Always love seeing you guys interact with us and especially each other. The podcast was funny and discussion was awesome. A lot of insight and stuff we don't get to hear from you otherwise. Can't wait for more podcasts. Thank you, Shadow. Yeah, that's kind of what we want to do. We a little more of a living room setting where Mo and I are just talking about things we regularly talk about, and you guys get to sit in and listen, and hopefully we can give you some insight on definitely our opinions on just things going on, but especially some of the independent artist grind and
Yep.
things like that. Let's see. We also, those were some YouTube comments. The podcast is also up on Apple Podcasts. For those of you that were asking, there were a lot of comments about that. It went up pretty quick. That was our first time doing it. We'll see how it works today. Let's see. Oh, got to shout out Specktators Floss for the review on Apple Podcasts. Amazing way to start off a new podcast. Very attention grabbing, never boring. I hope this never changes. Can't wait to see what is to come in the future from the guys. That's that day one fan right there. Appreciate it. Specktators Floss. Let's see. One more from Brian. I think I mentioned this one on Twitter. I myself am an independent artist with a day job. Although I play a different genre of music, hearing insight from Packy and Moe-T's experiences allow me and everyone a fly-on-the-wall perspective to their insider information. Not only do their conversations include great material for how to avoid failure, also how to embrace challenges, they also deliver on other topics that they battle inside their minds freely together in a detailed discussion for us all to enjoy. 5 stars. Wow, that's a hell of a review. Couldn't have said it better myself.
It's a great review.
That's what we kind of hope to do. I know we aren't perfect on it yet, but that's the idea. I know there were a lot of you guys mentioned guests. You want to see Nobody Epic. You want to see Cyrus, Marcus. Of course, those guys are going to be on. I don't know when, but we're going to have them on.
Yep.
So don't worry about that. We'll have other guests too.
Yep.
So that's all going to happen. But anyways, appreciate you guys rating, reviewing, doing all that. Do the same thing for this one. We want to continue to grow this, and yeah, I don't want to spend too much time on that, but shout out you guys.
Yeah, those are some. I guess that was the point of us starting the podcast. It's mainly to give you guys a behind the scenes look at, especially the music, independent music side of what we do, because we don't talk about it a lot. I mean, briefly, you'll have a lyric on certain things that are very vague and
right, but we can really get
but
into a discussion.
We can get it in, right. That's what I'm looking forward most on here too. So, Drake released some new songs last week.
We haven't heard from him in a while.
And I heard he broke some streaming record or whatever.
Yeah, multiple. He the first one that came out, I think, was the Spotify record, which was 4 mil basically.
So that was just on Spotify.
Just on Spotify streams in one day. 4 mil. And then he broke the 24-hour Apple Music streams, which was 14 mil in 24 hours.
Holy shit.
He also broke the first week Apple Music streaming 60 mil first week. The previous record was Post Malone and 21 Savage, Rockstar, 25 mil. So he more than doubled it.
Yeah.
Now,
That's
here's my
insane.
question. And the song was God's Plan. He also dropped Diplomatic Immunity. I thought they were both dope records. But what do you think about him breaking these streaming records? What do you think that speaks to? Because my personal opinion, I really like both the songs, but I'm a huge Drake fan. I don't think either one of them are like crazy standout records. I don't think if 5 years from now you said, "Hey, what record did Drake shatter all these streaming records with?" I don't think someone would necessarily be like, "Oh, God's Plan." As far as just the quality of the record, to me, it speaks to just the climate we're in with streaming. I think it just continues to get bigger and bigger, and B, the timing of Drake's drop. I think we haven't really heard from him since More Life, have we?
No.
As far as like just dropping a record himself?
No. Didn't he drop that one wasn't it like branded as like a Louis Vuitton like something or other?
Signs?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was right after More Life.
Was
like
it?
That was very soon after More Life.
Okay. I think that was the last record he dropped though.
Yeah, and
I
so
don't remember when that was.
I'll try to find out when More Life came out. But what are your thoughts on all that?
I mean, I think streaming is really, really changing. I mean, you have a superstar like Drake, and it seems like he can't do any wrong when he releases anything. He's a talented dude, and when you have someone like that of this generation, and he waits this long after his last project to drop like 2 songs, that I think that is the biggest key, because they're not picking their song from like the next project that he released. It's 1 song or 2 songs to feed people's wanting more Drake music. So he knows that. So he goes and drops only 2 songs. And guess what? 2 songs are on replay that entire time.
Right.
So that's just going to rack up tons of streams. It doesn't even really matter. It speaks to that the songs are good. Like,
yeah,
the songs are good. They're not anything insane to me. Like, I like the songs.
Yeah. As far as when you hear 60 million on Apple Music alone in the first week, and the previous record was 25 million.
I think it speaks to more of what kind of an icon he is than what the songs were.
Yeah.
Because I don't really think that those standing by themselves, I don't think that those songs deserve to break streaming records.
Well, you don't want to say deserve, but it's just not what you would think.
No, you take them aside, like, of who Drake is, like what those streaming services are.
But all that type of
like,
thing does have to do with timing.
Just the song.
And as far as the Spotify record alone, not just Apple Music, Drake, for the most part, I haven't paid close attention to it, but I know he's got an Apple deal.
Right.
And so a lot
of
it
that's still going on.
I think so, but I don't know.
Which was crazy that they both got released on all store.
But that's exactly what I'm about to say, is that I think he's done a lot of Apple exclusive releases up until this point. And so the Spotify record didn't surprise me that much, because I know even through his Apple deal, he's been the most streamed artist on Spotify.
Yeah.
And so if all of a sudden this is the first record in a while that he's released and included Spotify in the release, that doesn't blow my mind that the Spotify record was broken. All the Apple Music numbers do kind of surprise me.
I don't think it blows my mind that the records were broken.
By the way, More Life was released March 18th, 2017, and that Signs record was in June of 2017.
Okay, so that has been a while.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's the biggest reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Combined with the fact that they're good records.
Right. They're good records. I think it's a testament to how popular streaming services are becoming, because even me and you look at our numbers, and if we keep relevant and we keep doing our thing, it just trends upward, because not only are you making more songs, but you're also getting more of an audience because people keep signing up for these things. Mm-hmm. So to me, it's just like, you can't ignore the fact that it's becoming more of the norm for somebody to have a subscription to either Spotify, Apple Music, or Google Play.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we'll see. I'm interested to see when Drake drops an album or something, what his actual record sales are if you take streaming out of it. Because not that matters. It just speaks to how big streaming is getting, and compare it to like what his previous albums sold before streaming, because I just think streaming is getting absolutely massive, and so it's bound to have records keep getting broken by the biggest artists in the game.
As long as people keep signing up for these things, like, which they are obviously, then yeah, everyone, like, if you drop at the right time with the right record, streaming records are going to be broken.
Yeah,
like all the time.
So what do you think of the new Migos record? Culture.
I don't care.
It's kind of fire.
I mean, I literally.
This is probably my favorite joint off Culture too. I'm not the biggest.
Trapping like the narco.
Ooh.
Got dope like Pablo. Cut the throat like Pablo.
You gotta like that beat though.
I'm too much of an old head to like this stuff.
So, I mean, you know, I prefer artists like that are more lyrical and things like that. But this is when I say I can appreciate this type of stuff. Like, I listen to this album and I like it. There's moments for it. Like, I'll listen to it at parties and things like that. I'm not sitting back and listening to it in my headphones necessarily when I'm just relaxing listening to music or trying to be inspired or things like that. But I think the beats are fire. It did get a little. So I was talking to Dags and Q, I think, and maybe Danny at your party on Friday, and I was talking about Q hadn't heard it yet, and Dags had, and so had Danny. Danny hated it, obviously. That's no surprise.
Right.
Dags loved it, no surprise. But I had listened to like the first 7 or 8, and I really liked it. And I told Q, who has like more of a similar taste to mine, and so he said he was gonna have to check it out. But as I went back and listened to the rest of it, then it kind of got a little more monotonous and repetitive to what I expected. But those first 7, 8 records, when I listened, it was like the beats were all different. The flows, you could actually understand them. It wasn't just straight up mumble rap. It was tight. I'm a fan of the record.
Like when you say you can understand them,
you can understand
like,
what they're saying. A lot of that mumble rap gets crucified and talked down on because you can't even understand what the guys are saying.
Right. True.
So I'm saying I can hear their lyrics. It's not like they're just giving me bars. We're not gonna get into that discussion again. But
yeah. See. Yeah.
But it's cool. It's their vibe.
Yeah. I mean, and that, I guess that's the thing is, I understand what it is. It's vibey. It has really little to do with even what they're saying. It's more so how they flow over that type of beat.
Mm-hmm. And they do a good job.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I just don't appreciate it the same way that a lot of people do. But
that's fine.
That's to each their own, whatever.
What do we got up next on the agenda?
So you were talking to me about the what the middle class artist is today.
Yeah, I think that's something, and I remember I've touched on it at a couple of shows that I've done. The middle class artist. It's something that didn't exist X amount of years ago before all the internet,
right?
Like rappers and things popped up.
Yeah.
But now, like when we touched on it before we started the podcast, like what did you say? Because you said something that kind of summed up why this exists now and why it needs to be addressed.
To me, middle class artists. I mean, we are middle class artists,
right?
I would say, but they exist solely because we have the power, which didn't exist before the internet and before streaming and pretty much before iTunes.
Yeah.
It didn't exist that a unsigned independent artist could take a project and put it out to everybody on a worldwide platform.
Yeah.
Like
anybody that
now.
wants it can access it.
Right, like they can now.
Mm-hmm.
On a device that is in everybody's pocket.
Right.
That is the biggest thing because you had SoundCloud, you had Bandcamp, which are technically worldwide services, but they weren't readily.
But your
available.
average person isn't just going on the computer,
right.
going to Bandcamp.com and whatever.
And they're not being paid for that.
Right.
Bandcamp tried. They tried to, and I know like a lot of people still use Bandcamp, and that's great. Whatever.
Well, and these sites that you're mentioning were and are very important to the advent of the middle class artist and
yeah.
And
well,
having them
you had to build your buzz on those type of sites, and then you could put your stuff out on platforms, have a fan base to buy those records, and you could make money off of it,
mm-hmm.
and a decent amount of money off of it.
Yeah.
And now I'm not talking about like you hear signed artists all the time about their hundreds of $1,000s worth of like money forwards or like advance, and deals. Just so many figures are being thrown out there. But the bottom line to me is middle class artists are becoming a thing and realizing that it's kind of like a cool thing to do as far as you're in control of your whole brand.
Yep.
You don't answer to anybody. You can put out a song whenever the hell you want to put out a song.
Yep.
And you keep pretty much all of the profits that Apple Music, Spotify, or whatever aren't taking a percentage of, which isn't that crazy.
Yeah. It's fair for what they offer.
Right. It could be better.
Of course.
And honestly, yes, they probably still are ripping every artist.
Oh, for
off
sure they
as
are.
far as that
For
goes.
sure they are, but you're still putting your music out there.
But I'm just saying, let me
'Cause what you're getting
let
from
me
it.
be real. Yeah, because I think artists need to take a step back and they need to realize, especially the signed artists, because I'm sorry that you signed a deal that you're not happy with streaming services and the way that they're paying artists, because your label is taking a shit ton of money from you
Yeah.
by that. We don't get that.
Yeah. But see, that's the double-edged sword that I feel for and empathize with the signed artists that you hear all of a sudden just get caught up in this shitty deal and they bitch about it and they can't get out of it, blah, 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 right? You hear about these stories. And yeah, I do feel for them to an extent, but at the same time, let's pretend that same artist never signed and was independent the whole time.
Okay.
There's a very high likelihood that they never get even close to the amount of fame and buzz that they have from signing. And so the ideal way is, if you're going to sign, is to hopefully get yourself not into a deal with the devil and have it be a halfway decent deal. And maybe you're not even cashing out while you're in the deal as much as you'd like to, but that you build such a name and brand for yourself that when you get out of the deal or there's something, whatever, at the end of the tunnel,
Right.
that once you become this household name, you can eventually cash in on it.
Well, and I think that there's another side of that, though, too, as far as we don't all get the behind the scenes of what goes on with every single artist.
No.
So by jumping to conclusions that the label is all of a sudden always the bad guy is kind of misinformed and not really true.
Right.
A lot of times, because you have no idea. The biggest thing is you have no idea how much work the artist is actually putting into their own career.
True.
As far as that goes. So these labels might be paying all of these people behind the scenes to like make sure that this artist is on the level that they are. And the artist might literally just be going into the studio, spending 2 hours making a song and leaving for 4 months.
Well,
like,
and regardless,
you don't know the work.
You're right. You're right. That's an aspect of it. And there's the aspect of, okay, you might be a day one fan. And by day one, I literally mean day one, not after they got signed and blew up. Like, you went out and found their music and you were a fan when they had no fans, right? And then all of a sudden, this person signs a deal, which, by the way, you don't always know when that person signs the deal either.
Right.
Oh, they blew up independently and organically, then they signed. No, that's what they want you to think.
It's more becoming not that.
Right. And that's and over the last maybe 5 years, that's become the thing with labels, is they want you to be ghost signed because it's cool and it leads, like, you can garner more fans that way.
Right.
But okay, so back to my example, let's say that's the case. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, now, like, they're huge, they're signed, they have all these other fans, right? So you're one of a million fans now.
Yep.
And, oh, well, the label's mistreating them. They're not letting them put out music. They're not giving them their money. Whatever the issue is. Okay. I can get your beef as a day one fan. But for the other 999,000 fans that became fans once they heard about this person, and if we're being honest with us, because they were signed and had the exposure, for you to be bitching about now, oh, well, the label's fucking them over and blah, blah, blah. You would have never known about this artist if not for the label. No. So, I mean, we're independent artists. We're not out here vouching for labels. Right. But there's just, you have to, every situation is different, and there's pros and cons.
Everyone needs to take a step back and actually look at a situation for what it is instead of jumping to conclusions on, this dude makes dope music, and therefore he must be putting in shit tons of like work and effort and everything like that. I'm not saying that there aren't those artists, because there are, and they are still getting
not to mention
over.
These people. Go ahead.
But the bottom line is, not every artist, and keep in mind too, when these artists get signed, most of them are very young.
Yeah,
and they don't know.
Well, that's
the
thing. At the end of the day, these
things.
people are signing these contracts,
right?
And you just hope they have. And I feel for them if they're young and they're just too young to know better. But at the same time, have some people around you, or like,
right,
whatever. I mean, you're signing these deals that you're bitching about later on,
right? Well, and I feel like by me saying this, it makes me sound old, and it makes me sound like I know better than everybody else, and all of this. That's not the. I've learned through doing this for what now, almost 10 years that we've been doing this.
Now, yeah.
So I have learned that my views on things like this change as I get older. and I realize how to manage money, how to manage time, how to it's not cool if you're trying to build your own brand and your own business to be popping bottles in the studio all the time. But that sounds cool. That sounded awesome to 21-year-old me.
Yeah, and I even know not to that extent because we never got signed and got $1 million advance, whatever. But even when we made our first real money independently, we can look back and be like, well, we spent our money.
Oh, we spent our money on some dumb stuff.
There are some better things we could have invested in, and
we were probably conservative if you
compared to some other people.
But imagine getting like
$1 million advance. And, yeah, I know.
Like that's for a young kid.
Yeah,
and the thing is, you lose some of that by getting signed. You lose some of that fire in you as far as always striving for the next step. You got signed, and they say, here's $1 million.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden it's just like, well, I'm going to be paid $1 million to go make music. Well, are you as fired up as you were before you didn't have that money?
Well, and
a lot of people aren't.
Yeah, and then you need to, from a fan perspective, you need to look at your favorite middle-class artist now and not have the same expectations necessarily for the middle-class artists as you do for these guys with the big label budgets, because it's easy if you're a fan of somebody's music, especially in the hip-hop and rap culture, it's easy to just look and be like, okay, I don't even know what the threshold is, but it's like, it's almost like if I like your music and you look like you have fans and like a decent following, you're rich and famous.
Right.
So, but people need to temper those expectations because, like we started the topic, you and I, we're middle-class artists. Like, we make a good living. We're our own bosses, but we're not rich.
No.
But that's what makes it cool is our fans who buy our music, who watch this podcast, who buy the merch, who support in those ways, you are directly supporting your artist.
Right.
That money's not going to the label and any of these 360 deals and any of that stuff.
Right.
You're directly supporting the artist and music you like. But at the same time, when it comes to things like one of the big things with us has been like music videos.
Yeah.
To get if you don't have a connection with a dope videographer that wants to work with you and cut you deals, it's expensive to do.
Right.
To do you got to do high budget music videos if you want to compete with these guys who do the sweet music videos.
Yep.
And it's difficult because I know that's always been an issue for us is, do you just put out the below average product so you have music videos? Or do you splurge and spend the money on the high production? But then you have to weigh it of like, okay, what is this really going to get me? And are there better ways I can spend my money? Because you don't have an endless budget. You are a middle class artist.
And videos are super
and that's just
expensive.
an example. It's like there's everything, and there's obviously there's an upside to being your own boss as an independent artist. There's a downside of having to deal with everything.
Yeah.
I mean, as an example, this is supposed to be a look into our a little bit of a fly on the wall. We're doing the new T-shirt every month, new colorway. So January was blue, February is going to be red. We got to plan it out ahead of time to make sure we get the shipment in time. We got the shipment in sometime last week.
Last week, Wednesday or
Thursday.
Thursday.
And we opened the box, and all the tags on the T-shirts were not spec tags. They were some other company. Like they put the wrong tags on our T-shirt. So we got to send them back and get those T-shirts back, and hopefully they come
soon,
relatively close to February 1st when we're supposed to roll them out and stuff. But it's little issues like that pile up.
Right.
And all of a sudden, you as fans are just like, February 1st, where's the new colorway?
Right.
And it's like, damn it, we did everything to get it here, and it's still not here. And so we got to delay the release or something like that. And think about that times a million with everything.
Right.
And with a label, you have people dealing with a lot of that stuff.
Well, and you have
with more power.
You have a machine, right?
Yeah.
And that, like even the simple thing of packing our orders for gear. We personally pack every single order that comes into our Spec Gear shop. Big Sean ain't packing his merchandise orders.
Yeah. So when a transition like us moving into the office and stuff happens, we might fall behind or something where
Right.
And if you go to, like you said, Big Sean, you want to buy his merch, you go buy it anytime you want. It's gonna
be there.
It's a machine.
Because I have a machine,
Yeah.
right? But same thing with like Logic and everything. Logic is not packing his own orders.
Right. But yeah, it's just the concept that I think gets lost sometimes by people is, I like this artist, they have fans, they got to have bread. And so they got all these things going. Like, no, it's more of an entrepreneurial thing. It just happens to be that our grind is music.
Right.
It isn't manufacturing refrigerators. Like, you wouldn't think because someone is an entrepreneur and does that they're loaded.
Right.
Necessarily.
It's a normal job.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a respectable income for a normal job.
And this day and age with the internet, there are tons of artists like that.
Right.
And it's cool because you never would see that before.
No.
You get these artists that can generate an income off streaming and stay afloat and things like that. But that's what makes, like, why I have such respect and admiration for our fan base is that core fan base that we have is awesome when it comes to support.
Yep.
Buying the merch, buying the music. It's not just that, oh, I'm a fan and I want this song. It's like, no, I want to support them.
Right.
And I think our fans, a lot of them get that independent grind and realize that they are straight up supporting us. And that's important.
No, it's super important, but it's awesome that this can even be a thing today.
Yeah.
Because do you even remember when we were kids and, rock was a big deal?
Yeah.
It wasn't hip hop. And we had like more teenagers, like we were like 7 and we had more teenager, like higher up, like friends, not friends, but like people that we knew, like our babysitters, like sons, and they would do rock bands. They would have rock bands back.
Oh yeah, everyone had it.
And that was a big thing, but it was always considered like, everybody loved to dream about them starting their own rock band and making money off of it and becoming big off of it, but it was never a reality. You literally had to get signed in order to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
And that was not that long ago.
Yeah.
And it's kind of insane that here we are in college and we discover hip hop music and the way we can create it on our own and everything. And now all of a sudden Apple and iTunes come out and we're able to just put our stuff on there and start making a living off of it without even talking to a record label.
Well, that's another thing that I want to touch on because you hear so often, and I think it was part of the fact that it was years ago and things change with how you put out music and like all the things you just spoke to. But there's this, especially in rap and hip hop, which is what we talk about, there's this general consensus that it's super cool to drop out of college or no plan B, I'm all in, which I respect that aspect and I get it.
Yeah.
And I think there's a certain point that you get to that you should have that mindset as far as the no plan B thing. But you have to get to a certain point before you say that, I think.
Yeah.
I don't think you just start with nothing. You have nothing and you're like, I want to make music. And you just tell yourself, no plan B, I'm all in.
That's setting yourself up.
Yeah. Because and all I can do is speak to us and our experience. But for those that know, there's some that don't know. Mo and I, when we started making music, we both were in school, in college. I was fresh out of high school, like kind of senior year of high school, freshman year of college. And we both had jobs. And we started making the music. And we didn't just start and go, man, we're about to be huge. We started because it was fun and it was a hobby for us and something we wanted to do.
Right.
And it took years. I would say for me, I started senior year of high school kind of, and it wasn't until about junior year of college where we had been doing gigs in our area, traveling a little bit, like within our state, doing some gigs, putting out tons of music for fun while working jobs, while going to college, spending money on, like, we didn't make any money off our music. This is before Spotify, before all that stuff. We were putting out free mixtapes. So anything we invested in music-wise was from the jobs we had, which we also used to pay rent and live.
Yep.
And then by, like, my junior year in college is when I can say I had the first thought of, hey, could we, like, kind of do this for a living?
Yeah.
And at that point, I still wasn't like, no plan B, whatever, but I could feel the switch of school was less important.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be no plan B. It needs to just be switching the other
Priorities.
thing to the backboard.
Priorities.
Right. Exactly. You don't need to ignore it.
Exactly.
It can still be there.
And that's the thing. And then like my junior and senior year of college, school was a little bit more on the back burner than the music. And by the time I graduated, we were like, hey, that's when we hit the point of like, okay, no plan B.
Right.
We're not like, we started making our first money off music. We realized, hey, music can support us right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when we went for it.
Yeah.
And we haven't looked back since.
No.
But it wasn't just, I feel like people try to get the money too fast.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It needs to be a side hustle for a certain amount of time. If you really want to make it something.
Right. And an unrealistic time frame as to like, or not time frame, but idea of what they should be making. Like, be happy. Like, we could easily right now be like, man, this sucks. I'm not a rapper. Yeah, I don't have a Lamborghini. I don't have the studio time. I don't have the record label. I don't have any of that stuff.
Yeah.
And it would be easy for me to get super bummed and depressed about that and consider myself a failure because of that.
Yeah.
It'd be easy.
Yeah.
But no, I decide to go the opposite route and be like, no, we're going to take what we have here in Lansing, Michigan, which is not hip hop capital of the world or anything like that.
No.
Take what we have. We're going to sign artists. We're going to give them the opportunity to do the same thing that we did. And we're going to make it work for us.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to make a decent living off of this. We're not going to be
with the potential for more.
With the potential for more. But I'm not going to be bummed if that ever doesn't happen.
But but you have to keep growing and progressing too, because that's the reason we started the label.
Right.
Is we saw, okay, if we hit a ceiling or if whatever, we're not putting all our eggs in the basket of Packy's going to blow up.
Right.
And we're going to be, it's like, okay, we have this. How can we make this Specktators platform work more for us?
Right.
And so we said, okay, we can put other artists on. We can develop this label. And so we have our hand in that. And
right.
you don't want to put all your eggs in one basket necessarily unless you are, pretty damn sure that's the thing. And but that's even another thing is the concept of putting people on. And it was a difficult thing when we started the label was I remember struggling with this early before real fans and all this stuff was you get a little bit of notoriety and people around you are like, oh, put me on, whatever. And it's like, I remember us talking about this where you have to be on yourself to put people on.
Right.
And so even now, it's something we struggle with is as a label, we are supposed to be putting our artists on. And the thing is, we recognize and our artists recognize we can only put you on so much as we have put on for ourselves over the last decade. So, yeah, obviously with the Specktators Collective, there's a different ceiling there than there is with, Def Jam.
Right.
But you just have to recognize that if you are a nobody artist, that's still a big gap between that and what the Specktators Collective has built. And you just have to keep everything in perspective. But I do get frustrated with the Specktators has something and it's like, okay, Joe Schmo artist, okay, yeah, put me on, blah, 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 help me out with this, help me out with that. It's like, it's all we can do to help the artists we sign out.
Right.
And our cosign does mean something now, and that's part of the reason we have a label. If we're out here cosigning all our friends and everything we hear just because we like you or whatever, then that takes away from the cosign we give our artists.
Right. Just because you're a friend does not mean
and
necessarily.
That speaks to everybody, whether it's music, whoever you are, you have to value what you have to offer.
Right.
I'm using the music cosign as an example, but it's like you can't just spread yourself thin everywhere and then you take away your own value. But it's nothing against anyone else. It's just
well, and I feel like too in this day and age, it's looked down upon. Like if you think that you're taking a step back, I think people need to value their own cosign a little bit more than what they do today. It's not mean to not co-sign everybody that you come across.
Right.
Your word doesn't mean very much if you just start co-signing everybody that lends you a beer. Like
It's
not
also whack to ask for a cosign. I'm completely fine with anybody hitting me up and being like, "Hey, check out this shit I did."
right. Yeah.
That's fine. You're out here grinding, trying to get whatever.
Right.
Don't feel away if you don't get hit back or whatever. But don't hit people up and be like, "Hey, can you share this?" Fuck off.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm going to see it if I see it, and I'll share it if I want to.
Right.
Don't ask me to share something.
Right.
Bring it to my attention if you want, and I'll share it if I want.
Well, and let me expand on that, because if you really look at what you're saying, do you really want somebody to post something for you just because you asked? Or
Right.
do you want them to actually
Right.
care?
Then it means nothing. Like, I have friends that, like, they've known I'm an artist for a decade now, and they don't just post everything that I drop. But when they do, it means something to me.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, so-and-so was really messing with this song.
Yeah. And that's good.
I know.
And you should actually probably value that more and strive to get that more than just
Right.
being like, "Hey man, put out a song. Can you check it out and post it for
Right.
me?" That is not the way to go about
And
things.
it's different. Like, okay, I'm not a blog, so I get pissed when people hit me up like that. If you're hitting up some blog or something and say, "Hey, can you share?" That's a different
Right.
story. I'm
Right.
talking about like human to human, trying to get someone that has a following to help
Right.
you out or something like
Yeah.
that.
For sure. And yeah. I mean, I totally agree with that. I think people need to realize that, especially with what you just said. I'm not a blog. So what business do you have posting every little thing that comes
Right.
across your table?
Right.
When, too, you have two priorities now, which is not only your own music to market,
Right.
but now you have artists that you're
Right.
also marketing
Right.
as well.
And people forget. It goes back to the middle class artist. People forget that you're not, as a middle class artist, you're not where you want to be.
Right.
So while I'm out here also trying to help and promote Cyrus and Marcus, I still want to be way bigger than I am right now. I haven't like gotten to the plateau and gotten to the peak where I want to be. Like, I'm still trying to develop my own music and my own sound and my own grind.
Right.
Then I have Cyrus and Marcus.
Right.
Then I barely have time for you other people. But but if something is dope, I will recognize it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like I said, I have no problem.
on your own.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, middle class artists, man, it exists. Respect them. Understand what they
Yeah.
go through.
The world is not the same as it was 10 years ago.
Yeah.
It's very different, and you can make a living and not be invited to the Grammys.
Right.
You were talking to me about a new way that they're like picking the NBA All-Star team or
Oh,
something.
good segue.
Well, I'm done with this topic.
Yeah. So I know I'm probably the designated sports guy up here. But yeah, they did the NBA All-Star game. From my understanding, it's just the top vote getter from each conference, which was Steph Curry in the West and LeBron in the East. And they do the All-Stars just how they always did, starters and reserves. But then Steph and LeBron pick their team. So, and it doesn't matter what conference the guys are in.
So it's from a pool. So the fans vote them in to the pool,
right.
and they pick from
I think
the pool.
I don't remember specifically. Someone's going to comment and correct me because I'm probably wrong, but I think it's fan vote for the starters, and then like the coaches or something. Somebody else picks the reserves. I don't think it's all just votes, but I could be wrong about that. But anyways,
Okay.
I think it's the same as it's always been as far as the pool of players. Then
Because the fans vote. Always the fans have voted
the
that
starters, I think.
the starters. Okay.
But then then LeBron and Steph picked the teams. Dags and I talked about this. Why the hell, with all the dumb reality TV entertainment reaching for stuff, why was this not televised for like a half hour on ESPN or something?
Like this aspect? Like what they're
Steph
doing?
and LeBron picking the teams.
Oh.
Like they just did it behind closed doors. Didn't even release like who was picked at what point. They just released the teams then. It wasn't an event. I think LeBron tweeted something out like at Steph Curry, like that was fun, man. And that's the only insight fans got.
Yeah, that seems really weird.
Yeah,
Why?
that seems like that would be a fun event to watch. And I think I would guess part of the reason maybe was, oh, somebody's got to get picked last, and we don't want to,
Rock
or
the
even
boat
like
as far as that
relationships
goes.
with NBA players, like, oh,
Right.
you're not going to pick your teammate. You know, if LeBron doesn't pick Kevin Love, or
But the list is coming out
but
anyway.
I think that makes for more drama and excitement. And I would think these guys are not, which I'm sure I'm wrong, but not so egotistical and petty that they can't deal with that shit. Like, you're an all-star. You're one
Right.
of the whatever 20-some best players that got picked for this game. If you got picked last as an all-star, you're still ill. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
But then to take it a step, not a step further, but kind of a different topic within, I looked at the teams. They were like, release the teams. I feel like LeBron's team's going to shit on Steph's. I don't even have the full list in front of me, but I wrote down like maybe the top 5 guys on each team.
Okay.
Steph has Giannis, James Harden, Embiid, DeMar DeRozan, Jimmy Butler. He's got a few others. I think he has Draymond and Clay on his team.
Okay.
But LeBron has KD, Russ, Anthony Davis, Kyrie, and he had Boogie Cousins, who just got hurt, so Paul George replaced him. But it's like, I feel like I would take LeBron, KD, Russ. You could argue that you take them 3 above anyone,
yeah.
and they're
Yeah,
all on the same team.
I feel like, and I don't even really follow the NBA all that much, but just by hearing those names, I feel like
Yeah.
I feel like it's really lopsided.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. So that just kind of stood out to me. I think LeBron got first pick and took KD, but other than that, I don't really know how it worked. But I think in the future, I kind of like the concept of that. We'll see how the game goes this year. I think I heard something about they give the winning team, like each player gets 100,000 bonus or something like that. So maybe it'll provide for a more entertaining game if guys are trying to win a little more.
That would
We'll
be
see.
sweet.
But I like the concept of that. I like the concept of picking the players, and we'll see how it works. But I think it should be televised in the future if that's how they do it.
Yeah, it would make it much more interesting for even me, like somebody that doesn't really watch all that often. Is it would give me a reason to actually care,
Right.
because that is entertaining.
Yeah.
And I don't even. Okay, you get picked last. Like, this is basketball. Like, this is competition.
Yeah.
You guys are used to this. Like, this isn't
And you're an all-star.
right.
Like, I got picked last. Anthony Davis got picked right before me. Like,
Yeah,
okay.
I
Sweet.
don't really get why. Yeah, that seems really. If that's the reason, like, that's a pretty terrible reason.
Yeah. Whatever.
But that's dope though. I kind of like
Yeah,
that.
we'll see how it goes.
I hope they do next year. Televise that. Maybe have they had a lot of flack on Twitter for that?
for
or
not
at-
televising it.
yeah.
I don't know.
Because I haven't even really been following it. But I didn't even know that they were doing that. Did a lot of people even know that it was like becoming a thing?
I think, but I don't really
Was it
know.
on ESPN a lot or what?
I don't know. I don't watch that shit much.
I feel like it would have been like a trending thing on Twitter,
Yeah.
and I never saw it come across.
Whatever. Anyways, Super Bowl this weekend. Doing anything?
I don't have any plans as of right now,
I don't really either.
but
I think I'll be around here though.
yeah, I'll probably be around here too.
You got any predictions? Fantasy champ? Moe-T won our fantasy league this year, back-to-back years.
Killing it.
Fucking lucky bitch.
Fantasy genius.
Unbelievable.
Dude, I feel like you got to roll with Tom Brady anytime you can.
Yeah, it's hard to pick against him, especially when Wentz is out. But Eagles have been rolling.
Yeah, it's just I want to pick the Eagles, but
know.
it's like
I think I'll be rooting for the Eagles.
I'll be rooting for the Eagles, but you just can't.
Are you going Patriots?
You have to.
I'm going Patriots too.
If someone's asking me to bet something, I'm going Patriots.
27-24 Patriots.
Wow, close.
Yeah, I think it'll be close. I think Gronk's going to play. He was concussed, but I think he's going to play.
Oh, he is gonna play.
I think.
Yeah, I think definitely if he plays, then they'll win.
You got
But-
any other topics for us today?
You want to talk about Elon Musk's flamethrower?
Come again?
Did you hear about the flamethrower from? You don't even know who Elon Musk is, do you?
No.
You know the SpaceX guy?
No.
Come on, the Tesla dude.
Does this have to do with sports or music?
It's got to do.
Then
with,
I don't
like,
know.
news and what's happening around the world.
No, I'm not aware.
You've never heard of this guy?
No. Show me a picture.
Hold on, let me bring up a picture. Okay,
I gotta get my
so
volume up on this. How do I turn my volume up?
this dude.
No, never seen him in my life.
No?
Thought he was serving me at
Stop.
Zuby's the other day.
Stop. No. Okay, let me see if all I saw was the headline on this. But it says Elon Musk has now sold over $4 million worth of flamethrowers.
How do I turn my volume up?
It's on the thing. Like in
Where?
the middle.
That bar?
No.
No, that ain't it.
It's the circle.
I just tried that. It didn't work.
Oh, it worked. It's right by edited.
Oh, gotcha.
Wow.
Okay. Damn, I'm all the way up.
You got to turn your computer volume up.
Oh, yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Okay, obnoxious.
All right, go ahead. Sorry. I just have no idea what you're talking about, so I'm bored. Go ahead.
Okay. So I'm reading this now because I heard about this, but he's literally, he made flamethrowers. His company's called The Boring Company, and they made, I don't know, thousands of these. But so it says he sold 1,000 units in the first 3 hours for $500 each. And then he sold another 2,000 in the day, and overall reaching 7,000 flamethrowers sold, which would make him hit the $4 million mark in flamethrowers if he sold them at $500
How is he selling these?
each.
Like online?
That's what. Yeah, it literally looks like a Shopify store.
Is that legal? Can I just go, like, could I just go put in my PayPal and buy a flamethrower?
I think so.
What?
Is there a link to this?
On the black market, maybe?
No, he's literally. This is like a legitimate store.
That,
But how do you not have to like?
does he have like a video of how these flamethrowers work? Are they intense? Or is it like a lighter?
No, I'm pretty. Yeah, I think he released a video on his Twitter.
I got high this weekend for the first time in a long time.
At my party?
No,
No.
because I can't drink and smoke. I get a little dizzy.
Don't stand in a park with a sign.
Yeah.
Explain your
But I
business
did,
with a high-quality whiteboard.
It was I did walk to no, we didn't walk, but went to Little Caesars right before they closed to get some crazy bread.
Yeah.
And I was pretty happy. And the credit card reader was like $3.70. Do you want to put that all on this card? And I just started cracking up because I was like, $3.70. Do I want to put? Oh, do I need to split this up between cards?
Max out the card.
Yeah, and I was a little high, so I was just laughing my ass off. And that person was probably like, "Wow, just another baked person in here." But I think that shit's funny when I'm sober.
Look at this. So.
What? I can't wait to see how many comments we get on this. Like, show the video.
I'll put the video in there.
But
But yeah. But it's
what do you do with that?
Don't you have to have like a firearms license in order for?
Is that just like a toy? What do you actually?
It's not a toy.
But what do you actually do with that?
I think it's just like he's just selling it like it's a cool thing to like have.
Yeah. Can you think of any reason to have one other than like saying I have a flamethrower?
No.
Hmm.
No.
That's weird.
I don't know. But I don't know. From the comments now I'm reading on this YouTube video, like this guy, this is not a flamethrower. It's a big torch lighter. Like I can take a bunch of dabs with that shit.
That's kind of what it looked like when you showed the video. It was just like a big torch. It wasn't.
But
It's not like shooting flames.
that can't be safe. Like that's not a.
No, I mean
That was a big enough flame to like.
yeah,
light someone on
if I was
fire.
from here to you, I could
Yeah,
get your ass.
yeah.
But
Like you don't have to have a license.
I mean, you can
have
sell
one
you
of
can
those?
sell knives online.
That's true. But you don't have to have a license to wield a knife.
Right. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Yeah, but isn't a flamethrower a gun technically?
Not if you show me that, like, because a gun you could be standing somewhere else and I could.
Oh yeah,
Shoot, like, you gotta be
that's
close
true.
combat for
that's
that.
close combat. Yeah.
But I don't. I mean, I'm speaking like I know
'Cause,
how
yeah,
they classify.
I guess
these things.
technically
I have no idea.
that's not a flamethrower.
Right.
Like,
I can't. I'm not shooting you with a flame. It's just
Right.
this thing that a big ass flame comes
It's
out of.
coming out of. Yeah.
It's like a
True.
massive lighter.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
But, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. You need to come up with more of these topics. This is entertaining for me.
What about Keurig buys Dr. Pepper?
What is this? The Martha Stewart channel? I don't give a shit. What
do
does
you
that mean for me?
I don't know. Maybe that you could like buy Keurig and make your own Dr. Pepper.
I don't want to do that.
But why not?
Make your own Dr. Pepper?
You would just rather go buy Dr. Pepper for the rest of your life?
You're saying like you buy a Keurig and it has an option to like disperse Dr. Pepper instead of coffee?
You have Dr. Pepper pods.
Stop it.
Come on. Don't they already have something like that?
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that like they have those pop makers, right? The soda makers that they sell on those late night channels?
I don't know. We need one for the office.
Well, I'm about to get one, but
Yeah, you probably would. Make sure you run that by me before you swipe the spec card on that. Any other nonsense you want to talk about?
I don't think so.
Keurig buys Dr. Pepper. I can't find a way to give a shit about that.
Why not? I think that's revolutionary right there.
Okay, Moe-T.
I don't know.
Whatever you say.
The only thing I can think of is all this Michigan State stuff that I know that everyone wants us to talk about, and I'm not going to touch.
Oh, yeah. Well, maybe next week. Because I do feel like that stuff does hit close to home. Even though I want this podcast to be more of a fun thing to listen to, I don't want to give people the news, you know?
Right.
Since that hits so close to home, and I would imagine eventually we will be talking about Michigan State sports and things like that, just touching on them here and there because it's part of our lives. We're from the area.
Right.
That I feel like, yeah, maybe we should touch on that stuff, but maybe next week, maybe a couple. I mean, it's still a developing story, so I don't want to say things and then end up putting my foot in my mouth when other things come out. So maybe touch on it later.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing that I wanted to say about it is, and this is not me defending anybody because I don't know. The proof, nothing has really been said that makes me believe one side or the other. The only
What do you
thing
of what?
of well, obviously what Nasser did was terrible.
Okay,
and I'm
yeah.
not saying any of
'Cause
that.
that's clear cut.
That's clear cut, right? And that's terrible, and that's been dealt with and done.
Fuck
and
him.
Yeah, but with all this D'Antonio Izzo witch hunt crap, that is
Maybe.
all I'm saying is the media is being very ridiculous about the way they're reporting on a lot of this stuff, and I feel bad, not because I'm saying one way or the other, like I think they did it or I think they didn't do it or whatever. All that I'm saying is these journalists really need to think about how they're actually reporting on certain things and what they're presenting as proof and what they're presenting as hearsay. Because they're trying to present one side of the story really strongly, and they're not getting any of the other side. And that's pretty bad. And I would like to hear the other side.
Are you talking about like the ESPN outside the line stuff?
Yeah. Or just, yeah, and any article that was written about that.
See, because I self-admittedly, I haven't done enough research on it where I even would feel comfortable talking about it, because it's a touchy, important subject, and
Yeah.
I don't want to say anything that
No,
I'll
and
regret.
I'm not going to get in depth about
But no,
it
I mean,
right
I
now.
agree with your concept of, but I'll reference, what did I see?
I mean, because the bottom line is we have to all actually look at this and actually see, like, this isn't the first time, especially ESPN, like, just jumps on the bandwagon of some bad thing and tries to be TMZ about it and make it into something worse when there's no actual proof or just somebody's word against somebody else's word. Like, that's not proof.
So this is kind of how I feel about it. I'll reference Kojo again in another. We talked about him last. Just one of our friends who's been part of the music for a while, but he tweeted something a few days ago. He said, "Tough time to be a Spartan right now, but we all need to rally and get behind the victims. Doesn't matter if it affects your favorite team or program." He said, parentheses, "Selfishly, this was my initial emotion. Imagine if it was your sister, daughter, girlfriend, etc. You'd absolutely go nuts." And Nobody Epic responded, "This is my thought exactly. A lot of these problems arose from people not considering how victims of sexual assault feel. Let's not jump to repeat that mindset. Investigate thoroughly and punish accordingly." And I at this point, from what I know and everything, which is not a ton, that's just kind of how I feel.
Right.
Like what I'm not gonna lie, if I'm gonna be honest, when I heard this stuff about my university that I attended, that I've loved since I'm from here since I was born, when you hear this stuff, you're like, my first reaction was, no, not like, this is bullshit. But then when you sit back and think about it, you're like, okay, what's most important?
No. I'm not. And that's
and
fine.
I know you're not. I know you're not saying
that's
that.
fine to say, and that's actually a great thing to say. The bottom line to me, though, is I get really irritated when the big headline story is Nasser for, this whole few weeks or whatever, and he's found guilty and he's punished and all of this stuff, and then ESPN conveniently then starts this big old story about our biggest coaches.
It runs deeper.
It
type
runs
shit.
deeper, but who is the headline based off
Right.
of this?
It's like D'Antonio
and
Izzo.
Izzo, the biggest coaches at Michigan State.
Right. So you feel like ESPN and stuff are trying to make this into a bigger story for them, rather than, okay, there's this Nasser thing, which is a huge deal. I don't think anyone with a brain could say anything about that other than, like, wow, feel for the victims.
Yep.
MSU handled that poorly,
Yep.
administratively, and fuck Larry Nasser.
Right.
I don't think there's much more other sentiment that you
No,
can have.
no.
But then you're saying you feel some of the media outlets, ESPN majorly, is using that to try to snowball into a story about things that have happened. From what I've heard, the little bit I've heard, it seems like they are a little bit trying to report old news as new news and use it in combination with the Larry Nasser thing
to
to
make it
bring down
seem like
a program.
it's- right, exactly.
and seem like it's a culture and
Right.
things like, because everything that I've heard so far, and granted I'm biased, but everything I've heard so far is D'Antonio and Izzo claim that
But
they've
the-
handled everything
Right.
as they should.
And the D'Antonio Izzo stuff is not new news. Like,
Right. There have
they're
been issues
literally-
that have gone on with, and they say things have been
Right.
handled and they've
But
cooperated
now,
with
guess what? It's all of a
investigations.
sudden a bigger deal because of what happened
Right.
with Nasser, and that's
And that- but that's where I
a
don't-
shitty thing for
Yeah,
a
but I
news
don't wanna-
organization to
It
do.
is. It's how you report it, I guess, because
Right.
you also don't want to poo-poo it like, okay, this shit happened in the past, so forget about it.
Right.
Like, no, it's important, and maybe there is a culture of those things not being handled correctly.
And that's why I don't want to get into it,
Right.
because I don't know.
And that needs to be looked
I'm only
deeper into.
taking it at face value right now, and
Yeah.
I'm saying, and the only thing that I can actually say and feel comfortable about saying right now is that news outlets need to check themselves on how they report certain things, because that's very like TMZ, like
True,
whatever.
But that's what ESPN and things like that are becoming these days. With the clickbait media, it's
yeah, But that's what I have a problem with. And that
Yeah.
but when you're talking about someone's livelihood, like let's not forget that these coaches'
But
jobs.
everyone's response to that though will be, "Oh, you're worried about their livelihood. Why aren't you worried about the sexual?"
No,
assault
I am.
victims?"
I am.
I know.
That's why I'm not.
It doesn't have to be either or.
No,
That's what people have to
no.
understand. Yeah.
I get really irritated with like the tweets of like, did you see that tweet by Izzo? Like
No.
it's been a hard week or something, and one of the victims' moms like tweeted back at him and was just like, "Oh, it's been a hard week for you," like blah 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 blah
Right.
blah. I can't even remember exactly
Yeah.
what she said.
No, I agree.
But-
That's bullshit.
But that's like, he did have a hard week.
Right.
That's not a
Right.
lie. And I'm sorry that you did too.
Right.
Like that's
Yeah.
we can both
Two
have
people
hard
can
weeks.
have hard weeks.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not it's
You're right.
and it's not an argument about who had the harder week.
Yeah.
Like in Izzo's perspective, he had a hard week and he's
Yeah.
allowed to say that.
Yeah. It'd be different if the mom was tweeting at whatever guy or player or whoever it was did sexually assault her daughter or something.
Yeah.
Like I can understand
Yeah.
the emotion there.
Yeah.
But yeah, to just go after everybody. Yeah, like I said, I don't want to speak too much on it at the moment because I need to have more facts and do more research myself before I speak
No,
on something.
there
that
needs to be
important.
more discovery about it before.
But I
I'm
feel what
able
you
to-
mean about like clickbait media and things like that are rampant these days, and you do have to. That's why I say you have to do a little research yourself. You have to read into things and try to figure out things for yourself because we've talked about this before. And I hate this being how we're discussing this because I don't want this to end up coming off like I said, Larry Nasser is a whole different story.
Yeah. I'm not
I
talking
think I've made it clear how we feel about
it's,
that.
It's already been established with all of it. He's an asshole. He's done.
Right.
Like the thing is done.
Right.
Like and it's great. Like whatever.
But when to go back to the clickbait stuff and when accusing someone of something is a big deal this day and age because that makes big news, and unfortunately if someone is found innocent or found not guilty, that rarely makes news.
Right. Yep.
So you can stain someone with an accusation, and I think maybe that's what you're speaking to as far as there isn't a lot out there on Izzo and D'Antonio right now that says that they've
handled things wrong. Right.
And so to just be staining them on national news right now with
old news.
Right.
With things that were handled. And like but yes, I don't know.
But just because it's old news doesn't mean it's I have trouble with that too, you know. Because if it happened in the past but it was handled incorrectly and swept under the rug, does bringing it up now and handling it correct like it should be brought up now and handled correctly.
it should. But
if it's found that all those things were handled correctly, then yeah. That's why I say I don't want to speak on it now. I want to speak on it later because let them do their investigations and stuff. If they find that Izzo or D'Antonio were sweeping things under the rug at all or were not addressing it as they should, I'll be the first one to be like, that's whack.
Right.
Like
But
they deserve
this
what
is-
comes to them.
this is a perfect
but if they find that they handled all these things correctly and as they should and cooperated with everything, then is there any backlash to these media outlets that
that's my point.
Right.
That's my thing is look at what we're doing right now. We're not speaking on something that we don't know fully about.
Well, we kind of are.
No, well, I'm speaking because I know for a fact that ESPN needs to handle this.
You're
stuff
just speaking
better.
on how you feel about the reporting. You're
Right.
not speaking about how you feel about. You're not out here saying, "Stop coming at Izzo and D'Antonio."
Izzo's not guilty. He's a saint.
Yeah,
and
right.
blah blah blah. No,
Right.
I'm not saying.
You're just
that.
talking about the reporting of it.
Right. The
Okay.
reporting of it. That's because that's all the information that I have right now, and I can formulate that opinion based on what's been reported.
Gotcha.
So, but what we're doing right here is we're saying no, taking a step back and being like, we're only talking about the things that we actually know 100%, and we're not going to make assumptions based on things that we only have one side of the story on.
Right.
That's my biggest problem. But big news outlets like ESPN and things like that have no problem just reporting something from one side and making it and just piling on to something that's already in the national spotlight for something that they don't have all the facts for. Yeah.
Right. No, I feel what you're saying.
They're taking old facts that were claimed because there was no Nasser story at the time. that weren't as big of a deal at that point.
Yeah, like they knew
'Cause-
about all this stuff when it happened.
Right.
But now that the Nasser thing happened,
But now that
now
everybody's
they want to talk about it.
Right. Now that everybody's in their feels about Nasser, now everybody is super, very, very like.
You
the
feel like they
spotlight-
want to go.
The
find
spotlight
stuff.
is hard on
Mhm.
that. And now, yeah, everyone can open their minds and be like, now everybody from Michigan State's evil because this is because of Nasser, and like it must be a cultural
Yeah.
thing because how could it happen to this?
I
many
will
people?
say, like, because of the Nasser thing, it does need to be investigated a little bit because that was so egregious.
No, it needs
I
to be-
know. I'm just saying. As a graduate of Michigan State and a like longtime fan of the program and all that stuff, when I heard about all the Larry Nasser stuff, I like to initially think, okay, this is a fucked up dude and lone wolf type of thing. But then when all the stuff comes out about how, not that anyone else was doing fucked up shit like that, but the enabling and the not doing anything about it when you knew shit was going on.
Right.
I'm definitely disappointed in in Michigan State, basically the administration,
No, I know.
the president. I'm glad she shouldn't even have been allowed to resign. I feel like she should have.
You're a shitty person if you don't feel like that, because that is the example of you need to think about the victims and how they feel, and it's not about the university at that point. It's about that. But
And it was handled terribly, which is why I say if it was just Larry Nasser did this fucked up shit, but Michigan State handled it correctly and they got him whatever, then I would be like, okay, don't go on some like investigate. Like I wouldn't say don't go on it, but I wouldn't be as you need to. Now, when you find out how it was handled higher up at Michigan State, I do see why you want to go investigate more. And you want to maybe look into, okay, they've had these things happen in the past. Let's look into those. Okay, investigate them.
Right.
But it doesn't need to be this, like you said, this TMZ before anything is actually found.
Right.
Let's report it like it is found.
Right.
And whatever.
culture of like blah blah
Yeah.
blah. It's like
We'll see.
We'll see. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. But yeah, I mean, I think people should be careful about how they report things. That's the only gripe I have.
Get ready to get a lot of hate on that.
I just don't understand how you can hate on that.
That's what we live in. And I'm glad we have a podcast because we can get our real thoughts out there. And we said when we started it, we were like, we want to give our opinions on things, whether they're popular or not. And I agree. I don't think that it should be an unpopular opinion what you're saying. You're saying, I think people need to do more responsible journalism.
Yes.
But everyone is so sensitive to, if you don't straight up say, like, if the only thing you're saying isn't, I feel bad for the victims and it's all about the victims, and you're not allowed to address the other side. That's how I feel it is in general. In
If that's how you feel, that's how you feel. But honestly,
there's more to talk about.
you have to.
I know,
Like,
I
if
know.
you're an educated human being, you have to look at
Exactly.
things from both sides. You cannot ignore them just because it's not politically correct to do so.
Exactly. No, I feel you. But yeah, I would, because like I said, we don't want to be. This is not the type of stuff we want to talk about on this podcast, but it hits so close to home that I feel like we do need to touch on it. And so I'm glad you brought it up, and maybe we'll talk about it more when more facts come out on the actual Izzo and D'Antonio stuff. I think anyone that followed the Nasser case knows how that shit is. And,
Yeah, for
and
sure.
we've said how we feel about that. But yeah, as far as Izzo and D'Antonio go, we'll touch on it when we hear more. And you know, hopefully there isn't more fucked up shit to find.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see, but
yeah, not the way I wanted to end this podcast. But no, I mean, that shit sucks, and it does need to be talked about, because that's how things change, is people talking about it and people being called out on things. And
right, yeah, I mean, but I do think it's good for this podcast to actually talk about that and to present both sides, because it's. I mean, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but it's just kind of like it doesn't get talked about. It's kind of, people are they're really in the feels about Nasser, and they should be for sure. No, they should be. And that
I hesitate when you said people are really in their feels about Nasser, as they should be. The
They
Nasser
should.
shit is fucked up.
no, I know, but
but the
all-
Izzo D'Antonio stuff is a different issue.
We cannot forget about the other side of things.
But it's
though,
no.
because
but
of that.
you need to not mistake what you're. I know what you mean, but the listeners might not. You say people are in their feels about the Nasser thing, and you don't want to, but you want to look at both sides. It's not both sides of the Nasser thing. The Nasser thing is correct.
Okay,
how it was
the
handled.
the Nasser thing
Like-
has already been decided.
Exactly, but don't. But
So no, I'm talking about the culture of Michigan State University. You cannot, you can't forget. Nasser's been decided. I'm done with Nasser. Nasser is everybody's done with
right.
Nasser. Okay, it's
right.
it's shitty. It sucks, and
Right.
I don't feel like I need to keep saying it.
I know. Just don't say people are in their feels about Nasser, because that makes it that
It's the
discards
Nasser
it.
aspect that gets all of this stuff out of control. As far as you cannot just crucify everybody without any proof at this
I
point
agree.
because of what happened.
No, I agree with that.
That is what I'm talking about both sides on. You cannot just treat everybody like they're Nasser now. You can't do that.
No, I know.
So let's end.
You got to get better at the segues, man. If you're gonna host this show. But yeah, all right. Per usual, let us know in the comments how you guys feel. We'll respond to you throughout the week on Twitter, Instagram, whatnot. We'll address some of your comments on next week's show.
Listen and comment again. You guys were great with the comments last time.
Subscribe on YouTube and Apple Podcasts.
We read them. We might not respond to all of them, but we read them.
We'll read a few off next week too. Yeah, that's all I got.
All right.
Oh, were you leaving with a song?
Yeah, this is Marcus Ryan's new track. See you next year. And that's starting off right now.